Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to episode 99 of Carvers and Creators, a weekly demonstration and discussion with pumpkin carvers, sculptors, and multi-talented artists from around the world. First, we ask that you please give us a like and a follow on the platform you're watching us on. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from and if you have any questions for the carvers or our special guest. Let's meet the carvers. How do I add this? What? There we go.
There it is.
All right, here we go. First, he's an artist and sculptor from Boston, Massachusetts. He is a judge on season 3 of Outrageous Pumpkins, starting on September 25th on the Food Network. Paul Dever, welcome.
There he is.
Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. Episode 99. Holy
episode
moly.
99. Can you believe it?
Who'd have thought
Season 3, episode 6, but 99 total.
99 total.
Unbelievable.
That's a lot of produce.
It is. Next, he's a multimedia sculpture artist from Tucson, Arizona, and a finalist on Halloween Wars 2019 on the Food Network, Matt Harper. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good to be here.
Matt.
Welcome, Matt. That's me.
Our guest tonight is a sculptor and concept artist for TV and film. He was the winner on season 4 of Halloween Wars on the Food Network. Please welcome Jon Neill. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Jon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You made it. You finally made it.
I finally made it.
Great to have you.
Thank you. Good to
My name is Michael Mondragon. I'll be running the show, moderating comments, and chiming in from time to time.
Look at that kid.
All glass of water right there. Johnny McFrazzlestash, what's up?
So let's check out our carves from last week. Our carving subject was Hungry Demon. Outstanding, Paul.
Thanks.
Insane.
Not much to say about it. It's a hungry demon.
It is. I love the ears. I mean, that's like, for me, that's awesome. But that big fat chin and everything about it is stellar.
Well, yeah, he's always hungry. That's why he's got that big chin. He's working on it.
Right. He needs to slow down sometimes.
Right. That's chew his food. See, he didn't chew his food. He's sucking down the rest of that finger there.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And then we didn't show your carve from 2 weeks ago. So here it is.
Yeah.
Outstanding. I know you said you liked this one, so we definitely had to get this on here because you don't like very many of yours.
No, I did like that one. Oh, I like the way sometimes you spend all this time carving them, and then when you go to take a photo, you screw with lights and everything, and you're like, why doesn't it look like what my eye sees? And then you take different angles and all this, and for whatever reason, I think maybe the lighting that I had on it, just the darker colors, it just worked. So thanks, camera. I really like the I worked on it for a while. I mean, it lasted almost 2 weeks of me not being able to really work on it because we were away on vacation. So
That's right.
that was kind of a bummer. But when I got back and it was still usable, I spent quite a bit of time scraping into it. So
yeah, I'm glad it held up because this one it's beautiful. The eyes to me are some of your best. I mean, they're just I know it's not even the biggest part of the sculpt, but it's they're so good.
Thank you, buddy. Originally it was going to have closed eyes, and Lenora kind of was like, "Oh, you're going to do closed eyes," which means don't do closed eyes. Thanks, Nora. Kind of guilted me into it. I'm like, sorry, what does she know? Oh shit, she was right again. Oh, again, she was right. She's always right.
Just wonderful work.
Thank you.
Matt, this is awesome. Super.
I gotta talk to Lenore because I got closed eyes on this guy. But So I struggled a little bit because this is the first pumpkin of the season, and it was a little bit mealy. But I had to think of something where he's a demon, and I was those cool demonic like Japanese masks with those teeth.
Kabuki?
Something like that. I'm sure there's I probably wouldn't even know the name of it, but that's kind of how I was channeling. And then he's hungry. He's just finishing up an eyeball, and that was kind of that.
Well, you do have one open eye because there's 3 eyes involved in that. So
There we go. He's got one.
not completely. I can't believe that you didn't have to work that. Like you actually sculpted that into the pumpkin. Getting that nice round shape behind those teeth must have been tough.
Yeah, that was a work.
Pretty round,
yeah, because thank you, because I didn't the eyeball is part of the actual pumpkin, and I didn't put it in, but it was tough to get the teeth right because I had to have some of the teeth sinking into the bottom of it, but not so it kind of came anyway. It was a little bit of a challenge. It was fun to do.
Well, you knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
Fabulous work.
Great stuff. Super cool.
Thank
So
you.
I work in pixels and vectors, and I've been turning in album art every week. So,
Nice.
my Hungry Demon, I just this one was actually harder than I expected. I actually tried to figure out
Waffle House,
kind of like,
Sonic.
yeah, I was trying to push myself. I had so many thoughts of like where to go with demon, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna make something that just looks like it's eating, and just put a whole bunch of references to fast food, and then of course the demon from Kiss, of course, up there with the chef's hat.
Oh yeah.
So
So much going
You
on.
got to start trademarking these because you're gonna. Next thing you know, a couple years down the line, there's gonna be some band called Hungry Demon with that album art. It's just gonna be taking all your ideas, Mick. You better and get them on T-shirts because these need to be made into T-shirts.
Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah, and I need to start sharing them too. I'm so behind on all my social media. So but I promise to get them out there for sure, so I can at least take claim that I actually did them at this time, right? I can't claim it if it wasn't out there.
That's right.
right. But Jon, I'd like to introduce you to the 4th member of Carvers and Creators responsible for our carving subject tonight. It is the hollow wheel, the center spinner, and as always, Paul will explain more now.
There it is.
Hello, children. Happy Thursday once again. Episode 99. We're approaching carving season. Everybody's getting ready. So we are going to dive in headfirst into anxiety land. We're going to spin the wheel. So the first spin will dictate what we carve. The second spin will be how that carve is feeling. So, Jon, just to get you up to speed, what we have is ghoul, aquatic, fantasy animal, guest choice, witch, zombie, clown, vampire, Frankenstein, or wolf. Second spin will be the emotion, which would be disturbed, creepy, nervous, crying, disgusted, smug, terrified, embarrassed, guest choice again, insane. Oh, boy.
All right.
We're insane.
There
All
you
right,
go.
spin number 1. Wolf.
Oh,
Me likey.
okay.
Me
All
speaky
right.
too soony? Because I have no idea. All right, second spin. A smug wolf.
Ooh.
Why do we do this? Oh,
Damn it.
oh God, that's difficult. And
Yeah,
A smug wolf. Well, Wolfman, right? I mean, that's what we're coming up with, right?
says wolf, but you can. It's open to interpretation. Like last time we did Frank, and I carved Danny DeVito instead.
No, that's true. there's
He
more
plays
than
a
one
Frank. He plays a Frank. Oh, look what I got. Oh,
wolf.
like that.
Gosh, is that
It
the
looks like
It's
an
a-
actual pumpkin.
yeah. Well, I was kind of hoping to work one of these in, but I would be remiss if I did not go right to the pumpkins.
I love it.
So,
Yeah.
Jon, are you carving with us tonight?
I am.
All right. What do you got?
Well, I have butternut. I've got a year-old pumpkin, but I think it's just too mighty for me to handle tonight. So I'm gonna try this.
Slow and steady wins the race, Jon.
That's right. That's right.
Right.
Yeah, and the nice part about butternut is you can use smaller tools. It's a little bit more manageable than those giant things we end up carving too many of in a few weeks. So
That's right.
I got to figure out where my giant tools are because I think I'm so used to carving with the smaller tools now. Anything, if I hold like a normal size tool in my hand, it's going to feel like a dustpan.
yeah,
Giant. That's crazy.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll make it through.
Well, if you're carving or creating with us, we're going to give you 5 minutes to get all of your tools together, anything that you're working with. We're going to go around the horn and see what our carving oil is for tonight. John, do you have a beverage of choice?
I have water.
So do
He's
we,
at work.
technically.
So, yeah, but we might as well give the caveat. He is at work. So
That's
Yes,
right.
I am at work. I'm drinking water.
Okay,
there we go. There we
good enough.
Me too.
Matt, what do you got?
I got our old favorite. I got an 805 tonight.
Nice.
Oh, there you go.
Can't go
Firestone.
wrong.
It's just, it's like the new Budweiser as far as I'm concerned. I just drink that kind of these things.
Sweet. Paul, what do you got?
Okay. I'm not drinking Pabst and I'm not drinking Corona. Okay. So I've got the good beers again. This is from Wormtown Brewery, one of my favorites. And I had this last year. Fresh Patch.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Look at that cool can.
Yeah, it's a great beer too. They're a great brewery. They don't really do much wrong. Not all pumpkin ales are created equal. That's what it says. So
Okay.
that means it's true. It's not a heavy beer. It's a pumpkin ale. It's only 4.5, but it's delicious. Out of Worcester, Massachusetts.
Worcester.
Welcome to Worcester.
$1.25. Please.
What do you
My
got, Mick?
beer is from Orange, California. It is another green chic beer. This is the All Your Friends New Zealand IPA. So all your friends, we're all friends here, having a good time, toasting to our creations. Thank you for being here, John. We're super excited to be talking about you and all of your work. So thank you in the chat for joining us tonight. We have so much to talk. Oh, look at that glass. Where can you get that glass, Paul?
Well, if you go to www.carverscreators.com, you might just find one.
There you go.
You can have one too.
Awesome.
That is tasty.
Awesome. Oh, so good. So John,
Wow.
Wow.
there you go. So
Okay.
yeah. So we know that I'm sure we'll be talking about your Stan Winston days, but let's go before that. What were you an artist from your young days, or did you get it into your teens? Like how did you come up, and what was your inspirations?
Well, I grew up in a family of artists, actually. And so when I was a little kid, I always knew that I was going to do art. And first I lived out in the country in Barrington, Illinois, when I was a real little kid till I was about 10. So it's like I could wander the cornfields and stuff, and my mom would ring one of those giant cast iron bells. We'd ring it 4 times, and I could hear it several miles away. So I'd know when it was time to come home. So then we moved from there to Overland Park, Kansas, and that was like the suburbs. And it was still obviously doing art. And then I got involved in going on Saturdays to the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art and taking life drawing. And that teacher was really great. And so then he had me go to the Kansas City Art Institute when I was like 15 to draw the models at night. So my parents would drive me over there and let me actually do that. And that was a great experience. And my dad at the time worked at Hallmark. And so I started working freelance work when I was in high school for them. And I did things called ad slicks, which was basically drawings of the product that they would cut out and put in newspapers. So I did that for Hallmark and designed and sculpted a couple of ornaments. But then I found myself that I really wanted to do things like demons and dragons and stuff that felt more close to the heart than agricultural things or seed packet illustrations and so and during those times, for those people that don't know that the internet has not been around forever, we had to go to magazines, and I had like Monsters magazine and in a magazine called Cinefex, and I had this Ghostbusters issue, and there was a picture of the devil dog with a a bunch of people sitting around it smiling, and they had actually sculpted that big thing. And that is what I want to do.
Wow.
And so I'm cutting a lot out. My oldest brother had come out when I was a real little kid to LA when I was real little, and he had been on the set of Land of the Lost. And
oh, no way.
Yeah, wow. and so he had pictures of the set and the miniatures, the clay, and had brought back a couple of big bricks of like Roma clay, and he was, I mean, just constantly creating art and animated films and things. So a combination of those things along the way, I ended up wanting to come out, and so I had done some things, and I made a call to Stan Winston's. I found his telephone number, and I watched Predator and Aliens and Terminator, and I'm like, okay, this one guy is making all these creatures. I've got to work for this guy. I want to be his apprentice or whatever. So I'm like, look, I'll work for free, for a couple of weeks. So I talked to his assistant. His assistant answered his phone. His name's Chuck Zlotnick. And Chuck now is a famous set photographer. He does all the Marvel stuff. But then he was Stan's assistant, and we got on well. And he's like, well, let me put your portfolio in front of the correct eyes, because I guess they had like a room that they just get portfolios every day, and they just fill the room. Right. Portfolio. So I got there, and I was able to start. And I ended up working 3 weeks for free, and then I was just on very, very small salary, and I slept on an air mattress, and I had like cardboard furniture, and then we had the giant Northridge earthquake, and
my God.
Yeah, that was like a kind of a christening for me. So then, so I had that, and that was actually when the Northridge quake happened, it created a lot of opportunities, because Stan's had a display room, and that pretty much got trashed, and the displays at that time had been really static, and so it allowed us to for those of us who were brand new, it allowed us to be able to remake some of these displays and resculpt and create some great poses and put together something that honed our skills, and it was really quite special. And I think like one of the great things about Stan and that time period, because I came in right after they finished Jurassic Park.
Oh, wow.
And I started on Interview the Vampire. And so I was learning how to make molds, and the guys that were running the mold shop, they had come from like Skunk Works and had worked on like stealth bombers, and so there was a technique that they made molds, which now I think is pretty much incorporated into the way everyone makes like a silicone mold with a fiberglass or some kind of composite case. And I did that for a long time, but Stan also was really good about letting you, if you had abilities, to try it out. So if there were, like, we had, we would always have movies coming in. There was like, we were cycling like 3 movies at a time. And one time there was like Forbidden Planet. He's like, hey, whoever wants to design animals that would be on this planet, go ahead, and then let's check them out and talk about it and all that. And then of course they'd get nicks. Like we had a Godzilla one that came in, and there were some wonderful maquettes made for that, and then that died, and even Casper, and that was the thing. Like, I mean, there was like a lot of money that would go into design and development, and then it would get canned.
Wow.
Or we'd be working on films back to back, and it was really exciting. You'd finish a film, and you get to walk the red carpet and go to the premieres, and you felt special, and you felt like there was adequate amount of time to be able to make things and develop things. And with the advent of digital, that's sort of eroded that away. But I look at that as like that was right before digital went too far. It was ideal, and maybe now it's getting back to a little bit more of that.
Yeah, more practical. And,
right.
How long were you there, John? I mean, all together?
I think about 4 years.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Fun. Yeah, it was a wonderful experience. Here's like something pretty funny. Like, you guys are familiar with Crash, the illustrator. Mm-hmm. So Crash, I had seen his drawings in magazines before I had come out. Man, that guy is like the best artist. And then when I get there, I didn't know that he worked there, and so then I'm like, gosh, I can't believe can meet this guy and talk to him and see his process on how he draws. And Miles Tevis, if you're familiar with him, he did design the Demon and Legend and
oh no way, yeah, oh my god,
RoboCop. He was there, and John Eaves, the Star Trek designer, the spaceships and things, he worked there. I mean, it was just an amazing time. Like I just everyone that you'd ever want to work with or meet, I was squidding out in a huge way. And I'm sure, being so green from the Midwest, I was very annoying because I'm like, tell me everything. I want to hear everything. I love making fiberglass. Like, this guy is nuts. We got to get out of here. But seriously, so I did that for a time. Made a really cool Christmas gift. Stan would always give great Christmas gifts, and so we convinced him to wasn't much convincing, but I just told him, hey, I can make these Terminator heads for you guys so that everyone could have a Terminator head for Christmas. And we had just made a bunch for Planet Hollywood, the Arnold Terminators and regular Terminators. And so so he's like, okay, come in at night and get what you need and then order a bunch of materials. So I brought him back to my apartment and I was making all this crazy stuff, and then had it all chromed, and it was great. It was really great.
Oh, that's dynamite. Do you still have one?
I do. You want to see it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Good Lord.
I would love to.
I put a motion sensor in it.
Oh, that's dynamite.
I'm not getting rid of this guy.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah. So he's got like motion sensors. So if someone walks in the room, the eyes will go on. And it's got a little switch. But I mean, it is the most detailed. So basically, after Terminator 2, the head got recreated. Wow. You know what's hilarious? My watch is blowing up. I've got to get it quiet. People must be watching this.
Siri, go to sleep.
Yeah, I know. It's like, be quiet. But anyway, yeah. So I made a bunch of those. It's funny. It's like I've forgotten how to use my watch now that I'm like I just want it to stop.
So you did that completely out of clay, huh?
No, I didn't. Wow. No. Just to be clear, no. Shane Mahan sculpted the original, and so then we had a model that we cast of it, but there was because it was all freehand, that we were making this thing called T23, which was a Universal Studios ride. And sorry guys,
you're a popular guy. I love it.
It's super popular.
I know.
I'm sure it's everybody saying, hey, we see you on Carvers Creators.
I know, right? Yeah, my son is now like, hey,
you're on a YouTube show.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
If Jimmy wants on, if he wants on the show, he can do a little cameo, but it's your show, John. If Jimmy wants to stick his head in,
Yeah, it's Jimmy. Huh? Yeah. No. I'm gonna start saying things and I'm not realizing I'm saying them. All right, there. Okay, now my screen's back. All right, now what were we talking about before my son interrupted me?
We were talking about the sculpture of the Terminator head.
Yeah. All right.
So
T2 3D, we went in with like little areas and details and added like little Allen key spots where you'd fit in tools and just tweaked it a little bit and then remolded it. And then we had, then once that was all set, and then that was that for T2 3D, the Universal Studios ride. Oh. And so then we took those molds, and then those were the ones that then I used to make the all the parts for all of the people that worked at Stance. And I mean, there was well over 100. And the crazy thing is we have this, there's a great company out here that does chroming. They chrome on plastic, and they pretty much do if it's been chromed, these guys have done it for the film industry. They're like the dudes. And he had done this first set for like $25 a piece. And after he was done, he was furious. You know, he obviously won a lot more money. But you know, but I was young and excited, and he was excited about being able to do. And we even made Stan a gold one that had green laser eyes. That was from like the other movie, not the movie, the video game. There were some gold Terminators in it. Stan would like that. But yeah, so that was it for there. And then we had layoffs, and I had worked on Lost World, and that was a great experience. And also Michael Jackson video called Ghost that nobody got to see, unfortunately. We had a very limited release, but it's out there. And that was a real special thing. I got to work on both on some concept art. I got to do a little bit of storyboards, and it was riding under the wings of like some great artists. Like Bruce Fuller was the concept artist on that, but then I got to ride under him, and he's like, okay, hey, look, you know, here's how we do it, and, you know, draw up some stuff. So then I designed this like jester character, and got to sculpt that, and then work on a little bit of storyboards, and make some other stuff, and then paint some other of the makeup appliances for people. But I didn't want to really do apply the appliance, because to me that's like giving someone a tattoo, and I was afraid that I would screw it up since I just didn't have any experience doing that. So I passed on that, and then I was working on Lost World, which was, you know, super cool too.
Yeah.
But then I left there and worked at a prop company for a while, and made like an alien. I was hired to design their high-tech room. So I worked on that for maybe about 8 months. And then the guy that was managing that place asked me if I wanted to start our own prop company.
Oh, nice.
And leave there. So then we started Prop and Custom. We did that for a couple of years. Actually, yeah, probably maybe two or three. I can't really recall. And I did the props for The Spy Who Shagged Me, and Mulholland Drive.
Oh, right. Okay.
And a handful of commercials, and then I started doing a lot of toy work, and so I just it just wasn't making any sense to have this giant building, and a lot of the film work was going to Canada. So then I switched, and that again, I ran into Tim Gore. As I mentioned earlier, before the show, about knowing Tim, and so Tim and I and a bunch of other guys are like, hey, we're going to start this new company, it's kind of like, you know, like G.I. Joe or like Dragon. And we're going to really get into it. And so then they put together a team of people at 21st Century Toys. And then I was not hired on that team, but I was a freelancer. And so I kind of had a nice side gig of being able to go in there and I'd be sculpting like 3 action figure heads a week. So I did that for a while. And then I sculpted a ton of wrestling for Jakks Pacific, and did a few different lines for them. There was some, I'm wondering if I even have any of the heads laying around here.
Yeah, Jakks was a big deal, like for wrestling.
Yes. Yeah, it was great. A lot of fun. And I found that I could sculpt really tiny, or at least for a while. Now my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. But you know, I've got the magnifiers on, and then I just basically scaled down our pumpkin carving tools to small, and do that. So I was doing that, and then I was getting a lot of calls from prop people for different television shows to do concept work on either films or whatever. So like that new Freddy Krueger movie that came out like a while back, when they were like, hey, let's remake Freddy Krueger and hire a brand new dude. I ended up being the guy that was like designing the new glove. And so the production, or I don't know if it was the production designer or the director, he wanted maybe 30 or 40 different versions. And by the time I was done doing all the, like, I was so surprised with various degrees of like rust on them or different blades and all sorts. But it was funny. I didn't realize that Freddy Krueger's finger was actually a Thai fruit carving knife. Did you guys know that? I mean, I'm sure you know that now.
Common knowledge, John. Common
knowledge, right? I know.
They're these little these com knives or whatever they are, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So so needless to say, like, I had all sorts of different crazy knives all over his hands and stuff. But
wow.
So anyway, that's my that's the most famous thing I've ever done. No. I am right. But so anyway, so I was doing a lot of that. I was designing for different television shows and props for different episodes, which was so cool. And I was juggling that with toys, and then, you know, I'm not sure, you know, what everyone knows how this in the industry works, as far as the film industry, is that when you have these unions that run everything, if there's a problem in the industry, and they'll go on strike. And so there was a major writer's strike. And so the way that I was earning a living as a freelance artist is that I work in many different industries, and I would just overlap the different cycles of the industry, because the toy industry ramps up at a certain time for toy fairs, and so that there'd always be a lot more work during that time, and then hopefully there'd be less work for the film, and so then it would just kind of do like this. So that kind of threw everything off, and then had kids, and then I had the opportunity to work at Jimmy Kimmel Live, and it came on. It was kind of a situation. I mean, I guess I'm cutting out the pumpkin part of it.
We'll get to that. I like where this story's going. We'll get to that after.
Yeah. But man, I'll tell you what, I loved making that thing. So that worked. It had a manifold on the back that was connected that would make the whole thing blow. But that was for Jimmy's 50th birthday.
Oh my God.
And I mean, you know, talk about being able to just go out and buy all the party stuff in town and then build the Game of Thrones chair.
How fun. Oh my God.
I think we ended up sending that to the Game of Thrones guys afterwards, just for kicks. But so this crazy opportunity came along, and it presented itself maybe once or twice earlier, but it wasn't right. And then I went there, and there was an immediate opening, and they needed to have someone that could work, like, they had my skill set. And so I just fell right in. I mean, it's absolutely perfect, and he's probably one of the most wonderful people to work for that I think I've ever experienced out in Hollywood.
That's
So, I mean, it's like if the rumors are true, Jimmy is a great guy, and wonderful team here.
That's so cool.
That's fantastic. Good for you. What a road.
I know. I just gotta know a day in the life. Like you're working, there. I mean, obviously you do a million different things. What's a day in the life for you at Jimmy Kimmel Show?
Okay, so it varies, obviously, but it can be where all of a sudden, as soon as I get in, nothing is planned, and then immediately I've got to make a like there's a crazy thing that I've got to make where I've got to pour and freeze resin together, and and so both props are being made, and then I've got to do that. I've got 2 attempts to get that right, and then I believe it films tomorrow.
Oh boy!
Then there's then we shot a bit that was a very involved build.
Okay.
I'd say more, but we're right in the middle of this.
Sure. No.
And so we've already shown this bit before, but there was probably like 3 weeks of building, which is kind of unheard of what we do. And so there's a new script that came out, and everything that we do is timely. Whereas, it has to be done so quickly to get it out. So there's set pieces that have to quickly be designed so that the writers can see them to be like, yeah, do that would be great. And then they'll ask me, well, how long is it going to take to sculpt? How are you going to do this? Can we get it done by this? And so it's just a matter of, well, if you've watched Halloween Wars, it's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
And you got a timer, and you got to just try and coordinate all the pieces coming together, and it's pretty crazy. My wife said, well, what did you do today? And I'm rattling everything off. I was like, okay, that's all I need to hear. And so usually it's like when I get in the car and I drive home, then I'm leaving, the craziness behind, and then I go home, and then it's homework time with the kids and all that stuff.
Sure.
So I think right now they're shooting an episode. Well, they have different like integrations happening, for product that'll also be going on, and then they might be shooting a live bit, and they also have something called Man on the Street, where they'll be out on the boulevard, and then they'll
Oh, right, yeah, I've seen that.
So like they'll come over and they'll look at old props that we have hanging around, and then they'll take those and try and do something with them. Like for example, we've got a giant hero sandwich that we made for an integration, and we found another space for it so that we'd have enough room, but we've got some oversized props that we built that are just sitting out there that we just need to shoot the bit so that then we can figure out a place for deep storage someplace.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm part of like a bigger warehouse that attaches with sets and other interesting things. So
you're going onto a set every day is what I'm hearing. Like you're saying you're like on a big production set.
Not really. So if you guys are familiar with Hollywood Boulevard, and you've got the Chinese Theater, where all the footprints in it, across the street is an old Masonic lodge, and that is where Jimmy Kimmel Live is filmed. And then I'm a few blocks away from there, in an undisclosed location.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that and that's is where I get to make cool things.
Oh,
So yeah.
I'm jealous. So jealous. Sounds so lovely.
That's a lot
Just
of
to
fun.
be that creative, like for that amount of time. Just that's your job. I get Thursday nights, and then maybe a couple hours during the week. Thursday nights. This is my night, though. I get to
that's good.
do some creative stuff.
Yeah, but just like the wheel, we get stuff thrown at us. You get something thrown at you every day that is just completely anxiety deliverer the same way, I imagine.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's always an element, a crazy element. And sometimes it's no big deal. And I work with a couple of great guys here at the shop, and I mean, we can, turn things around. Like we all have kind of our own skill set. So we can just, bounce things back and forth, which really helps. And I think too, like creatively, especially if there's only so long that you can work on something before you're going to lose. You've got to pass the torch to someone else.
Oh yeah.
And so we'll do that a little bit, depending upon what it is, which is great.
Fresh eyes, yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And speaking of passing the torch, so from a sculpt perspective or a build or whatever, you'll work on it, and then there's somebody that's really good at the next step you're doing. Is that kind of how that works, or is it like, well, I've gotten to my limit, I'm just going to hand it off to the next guy?
Well, it depends. Like there was one, let me just think of some kind of example. I mean, usually what I'll do is I work with a guy by the name of Nova Clark. You guys can look him up at Flat Black Nova on Instagram. He does a lot of the rock and roll posters for Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh wow!
But he also is a great builder and painter. So if I'm working on something and then he can take it or he can build. Yeah. So we collaborated on that. Nice. And that was awesome. And so he does these classic posters. I want the show to do NFTs of all of his rock.
Yeah. That would.
Yeah.
That's smart.
It's very Mickey-esque in a way there, creating the art.
I'm so glad that you talked about this, because this what got me into graphic design. When you were talking about ad slicks from before,
right?
I did ad slicks as well.
Oh, you did? Okay, I saw you nod your head, and I'm like, okay, well, at least you know what antique relic I'm talking about.
Yes, I know. Stat cameras and paste up and so that's I moved to LA in '97, so that's what I came here to do. I did packaging design. So when I saw this, I'm like, this is everything I wanted to do when I moved here. I had a graphic design career, but I was like taking it to the next level, and this type of work is like exactly what I wanted to do, and it's very reflective of my work now. So you're right. It's like, and it's all music related. It's such beautiful work. So him taking what you did and then making it into like a rock and roll poster is like, it was mind blowing when I saw it. So I definitely am so glad that we brought this up.
Well, it's been great, because when I first started here, and then Nova, had his area, and I saw all these posters, laying around, and I'm like, oh my God, this is silk screen, this is the real deal. Mm-hmm. And he'd tell me stories about Banksy and other stuff, and just being either, I think he had seen like the stencils or had been in an area where Banksy was, but all of his whole creative process and stuff is pretty great, and it's just great energy. Our shop has great energy, and I'd like to think that it's apparent, just because knock wood, we haven't made a mistake, or or if we have, we've managed to fix it, in record time, or anything that we made, it's we're proud of. But we're going to take the show to Brooklyn, the third week of September, I believe.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so we'll be out there at BAM Theater for that, and so I've got to go mobile, and that's a little stressful, but we'll see. I mean, at least I don't have COVID now, so
that helps.
Yeah. One less thing. Yeah, one less thing to worry about.
That's right.
Yeah,
So,
and go ahead. Man.
No, Mick, I when you said New York, I always think of Jimmy Kimmel's affinity to Howard Stern. Mickey and I and Paul are all Howard Stern fans, and in our own little way, and just I always assume they're all going to do each other's shows, and that'll be a super fun thing as well.
Yeah.
I don't think Howard does much of anything anymore. He's constantly on vacation, isn't he? That's true. You get all that money, you're done.
That's true.
Why would you go into work at this point? Yeah.
I would.
So actually, let me go back to here. So we were talking about your pumpkin carving, and when so I mean, you do the super giant ones as well. So so
that's my favorite. So I like the show. I like the interaction with people in the show. I remember the giant. So the giant, when I first did this one, this was like an 800-pound one.
Wow.
At a place called Fair Oaks Farms in Indiana, and I did that one for I don't know, maybe 5 years, I guess, and then the marketing department left, and this I remember my teachers telling me, if you can get someone in front of your artwork for longer than, I don't know, 5-10 seconds, you've really accomplished something. And I was having people pull up lawn chairs, and they'd sit there the whole day, and then they'd want to get a family photo taken, and then they'd want to tell me, and then you've got pumpkin therapy, as I call it. So you're and then they're like, oh man, I was 7 years old and I sculpted this sculpt and it was terrible, and and it's I bless you, it's gonna be okay, here, these tools, this technique, you're gonna make it. It's gonna be fine. So I really fell in love with that, and that's the one thing I like. I like to do the large carvings, but for me, it takes about 5 hours to make something on this scale. I mean, it's you can only get so detailed, but if you can just try and knock out the forms and make something that's cool, then there
5
it is.
hours is that's really fast for something
that size. Holy crap! Yeah.
Well, I ended up making it some oversized tools. I don't know if you've seen. I've got a video on my YouTube channel, I think, where I hold up one of the tools. I was with David Smith, the other carver, if you know who he is. I know you guys know who he is.
Yep.
So because I mean, when you're using this small, you don't want to use this. I don't know if you can see that. This on a giant, because you're going to be exhausted trying to peel it. So so I kind of look at things mostly with this shape in mind.
Gigantic.
Yes, but gigantic. So so I made it like Wolverine, where it was a brace and then you hold it, kind of like the sand scooping. There's not so much pressure on your wrist, because as I notice, as the years go on, my wrists and my elbows are getting just so beaten up in October. but by trying to make something that's taking the pressure off so that I can still work super fast,
Yeah.
then and you're also dealing with people's attention span. So I'm like, well, I gotta try and work as fast as I can.
Come back in 3 hours. Believe me, it's going to look different.
That's right. That's right. So I mean, when pre-COVID, I would try and train at least a month just to have enough endurance to be able to go crazy for that time period, the 5 hours.
Right.
Give me a reason to exercise.
People think it's easy, John. They think what we do is easy. That you can just jump right into it and scrape for hours and hours, and there's no repercussions. We pay the price, man. We pay the price.
That's right.
That's why I do 16-ounce curls every chance I get.
Well, you never know when that's going to come in handy.
Yeah,
That's right.
Liquid courage. Yeah, it's looking good, Paul.
What? Oh,
It's looking good.
Hey, how's it going? I didn't realize we were still
Yes,
doing
the underbite.
Well, hello, everyone.
I'm just trying not to break through. It's so different when like a pumpkin is so hollow in the middle, you could really, even if you didn't carve into it, you can kind of compress it.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I push, I'm like, oh boy. I know there's so much more to go, but I'm used to the butternut squash, which is just like carving into a wall.
Is that
doesn't
a thick one, or is it thin already by the tear ducts, or no?
Not really. No, but I give a good, I really try to gauge it, and I got a tiny bit of give, but I also have a tiny bit of give if I push in on it anyway. It's like one of those early season pumpkins, but as long as I go slow and talk softly to it, it should be okay. and then cuts as I get closer. God damn it.
Wait a minute. So I just saw Christina say that that there's no pumpkins. She lives in Texas. There's got to be pumpkins around there somewhere. We got them at Safeway in Arizona. I mean, so come on.
Dude,
Yeah,
what you've done with the shape of that thing right now is outstanding.
Oh.
Go back.
Yeah. So this is a little kind of kabocha size thing. It's not very big, but it has like
that's a baby red Hubbard.
It looks like it. Yeah, they call it a
Baby red Hubbard.
baby red curry, whatever. But
a curry squash. That's it. It's a curry squash. Yeah.
That's it. So, but yeah, he already had a nose. I'm like, holy crap.
Look at that. It just gave you its own nose.
It like, and I don't know if maybe I'll take a poll, but I kind of want to keep it, but I also want to like create a really like legit looking nose instead of the stem. But
I don't know, man. You take what it gives you. And you have some imagination, my friend. You see things that normal people don't see. Not that you're abnormal, but you are.
I see dead people. Oh, I see. Oh, and then I got a friend here joining me.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Nice.
This guy's coming in to get all the pumpkin. He'll sit there and eat the pumpkin scraps for. You have to wait. Yeah.
Right on.
The fifth member of Carvers and Creators.
So many. So John, tell us more about how you came to sculpt pumpkins at this level. I mean, obviously you can do anything.
So that's kind of a weird, I guess. I was doing it for fun, but like the regular, you cut the triangles and whatever.
Sure.
And when I was in college, I had sculpted a pumpkin with teeth, with vine arms, and did like a children's book. There's do I have the? I don't know if I have the guy here or not. I think he's probably at home, but I did that in like 91, and then and so then I grew pumpkins, and I would carve, just the little triangles and all that, and then carve teeth and put them in there. And so then my wife had oh shoot, hold on. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, oh, that's so great. Was that just clay initially?
Hold on, I got my 3D printer's driving me nuts. Hold on.
See what happens when you get somebody on a live show that's on Jimmy Kimmel.
I know. Just trying to juggle everything, right?
I love it.
So I sculpted that guy back in like 1990 or 91, and there was a book about a jack-o'-lantern, and this was like an illustration class because at that time I thought I was going to be an illustrator, and I am a union illustrator, but then I also joined the local 44 too, so I'm in both unions.
Nice. Never hurts.
Right, and SAG. So I'm just collecting them at this point. Right. So all that. And then I was just doing regular stuff. Then my wife had a job. And so she was like, hey, would you make some pumpkins for my desk? And so then I started painting them and carving them a bit and putting like bolts and stuff. I'm sure I've got them on Instagram somewhere, maybe early on. And that was kind of the beginning of just doing stuff, but I wasn't taking it seriously. And then I had a buddy who gave me a call and wanted me to go on Halloween Wars. And he knew the producers and he's like, hey, we can be on the same team. You could be the cake artist. And I was like, well, I knew that he had kind of carved pumpkins before. And he's like, hey, you could do cakes. And I'm thinking, well, okay, what can you do with a cake? And I'm picturing like those little marshmallow people and stuff at a fondant. And I'm like, oh gosh, I had no idea, obviously where you can take things, now. And so he's said, well, call the production and tell them and all this. So then I called the production and I said, hey, my buddy, wants me to be on his team as a cake artist, but I'm, not really sure that's my forte because I'm actually a sculptor and he's an illustrator. And so, and they said, well, why don't you can't be on the same team anyway. So since you're a sculptor and you can carve pumpkins, why don't you carve a video? So I carved this pumpkin. I went to the local store and then got this round ball. It's like
beach ball. Yeah.
What I got now.
And with all these teeth, and I time lapsed it, and I had a clock in the background, and I put it on YouTube. And then like a few hours later, my brother called me. I love that one, by the way.
I do too, actually. I love the eyes.
He called me and he's like, have you seen how many people have seen your video already? And I was like, no. And it was already a few thousand. And then my cousin had taken the thing and posted it on Reddit, and it became the front page of Reddit.
Wow.
And then it was in Wired magazine, and then it blew up, and it got, this was back in, 2010 or 2012 or somewhere in there where the algorithm, you put something on and it would go bananas. And then it just, all of a sudden, like I went on my email and I just was getting, it had gone all viral all over the place. And I didn't really know, what to say. And so that, then I went on season 3 of Halloween Wars and had that experience. And then I was really, after that, I was pretty upset. And I think it took a few months to process that experience because it's so intense, such focus. And I know a lot of people don't really understand that, and especially, especially the way that it's edited. And I think that's what kills me, is that, you know, you can edit anything to get a achieved effect, and you know, or create a storyline just by, you know, switching some things around or whatever.
Yeah.
And I felt like, you know, the stories that I was seeing, you know, that it wasn't how I remembered, or how our teammates or other teams would remember our chip falling, which was, you know, very interesting. In season 3, we had the swamp monster at the end. My teammates were Mark Lee and Santosh Dipter, and both great guys. Were all really tired, and it was really complicated, crazy thing that we're making. And I remember that I was sculpting a reptile pattern on the back of the snake, but not thinking, hey, the camera. So what the camera can see is what matters, not the piece overall. Don't do it.
Right.
And my mistake, but I was way too tired. You know, I think, you know, we were operating on fumes at that point, but I was so happy to be able to go back for season 4, and you know, with Bria Nathan and Kyle Miller, we had a great time.
That's awesome. Yeah, we actually have one of your students from LCAD who's popping on.
Excellent.
To you.
Oh, that's great.
That's fantastic. So, how long did you teach?
Well, I taught on and off. So I taught at Pepperdine for a couple of years, and that was pretty cool. But I really loved teaching at LCAD, and I actually taught at LCAD before I started here. I was working up a handful of other classes that I had wanted to, proposals that I wanted to teach at LCAD. And then I got this deal, and so then I ended up coming here, and I thought that maybe I would be able to do like both, but it's, you know, it's a couple hour commitment to get down there. Mm-hmm. But man, I'll tell you, you know, that school is amazing.
It really is. Yeah.
And I mean, the people and the art that I see is just jaw dropping. Like, I mean, it's just like I you know. Yeah, you know, what can you say? You know, I was honored to be able to be around them and hear what, you know. That's the great thing about teaching, and especially if you've got an ability and that you can share it and you can teach people that are super savvy, because, you know, you're always learning, and well, you need to always be learning, I guess. Right. Say,
right.
And you know, you can't, when you get older, you can't get cocky and think, okay, well, I know everything, because that's not true, because it evolves, it changes. Right. And if you're not liquid and constantly reinventing yourself and your abilities, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
True. 100%.
Yeah. Matt's daughter goes to a prestigious LA art school, right, Matt?
Yeah, north of LA, in Valencia. But one of the things that she is more excited about than anything is just being around like-minded, crazy artists. The way and just bringing her there this last weekend, it was one of those. Everybody I saw looked like her, acted like her, were just as nerdy as her, and just art nuts as well. So I'm like, she's in her element. But I just was the whole time thinking, please just FaceTime me. I want to be in every class. I don't. I'll pay. I won't pay an extra tuition because you're Jesus in heaven. But yeah. But I just was like wanting to be vicariously on that campus. I wanted to be in the dorm. I just wanted to be there. It's just so infectious. You get so many cool, crazy ideas, and everyone's just wants the best. Anyway, it's really cool.
I had my favorite class that I was teaching there was fantasy sculpture. And so it was basically, you know, all the students that were learning digitally, it was forcing them to actually have to work with clay.
Yeah.
And it was great. So, you know, we would come up with some ideas, and they would try and tie it in with other projects that they were doing. And then they just knock it out of the park. And then we just try and work on like dynamic poses and and then anatomy, and just try and, if there was a creature, and then we'll be like, okay, well, what creature is this close to? Let's look at the muscle structure of that animal versus what you've done, and what's really, is that, can that really work? And because it's like, you can make something believable as long as you tie it in with reality to some degree, then you've got it made.
Yeah.
So
your brain has to compute it. Your brain has to almost to have seen it before for it to seem like it's real.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you can't take half a horse and half an octopus and just smash them together. It has to kind of flow in a way that all right, that looks familiar. That looks familiar. Now I believe it.
That's right.
Yeah. By the way, something I'll never ever try. I'm gonna put a horse and an octopus together.
Next week on the wheel.
Yeah.
The horsepus.
Horsepus, yeah. A horse is
I made an octopus thing once. It was actually for Island of Dr. Moreau, if you guys ever saw that.
Oh yeah, I remember that movie.
Yeah.
So the artist Jim Sharmance and I, he and I both kind of started at Stands at the same time, and we got thrown on this movie to be able to make it this creature. And towards the end of the movie, it was supposed to be this, three-eyed octopus that busts out of a tank, and then it fights a hyena monster, and they start a fire and all this other. And I guess the script kind of got rewritten as it was going. I think there's a movie about that movie being made because it was so chaotic. And it was a wonderful project that we got to work on, where we had it where it was like a two octopus that were kind of divided a little bit, so that we kind of had like a smaller octopus that was inside the head, so that we could fit that third eye in there.
Oh wow!
A couple little tentacles that came out. There's probably, I know somewhere either on my website or on, I don't know, somewhere there's some photos of it.
That's
But
so cool.
yeah, and it ends up in like a warehouse that's kind of like Indiana Jones at the end of
It's stuck.
Yeah, it dies there.
It probably got buried with the lead actor of that movie.
What, Marlon Brando or Val Kilmer?
Speaking of
Brando.
which, I left something out. I was the sculptor for the Museum of Natural History for a few years.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. In LA, right?
Yeah, in LA.
Wow.
And I got to see some really cool stuff there. So there's these things called stacks that basically have fossils and all sorts of stuff. And so there's imprints of dinosaur skins and other. You know what I got to do? I got to go let somebody in.
I'll entertain Paul for a minute.
Yeah,
while you do this.
you entertain him, and I'll be back after these important messages.
All good.
We'll be back in 2 and 2. Oh, hello.
Let's do a commercial for I don't know, Jiffy Pop, something like that.
Jiffy Pop. Oh crap! Should we do it in black and white, Matt?
Yeah, well, whatever's most traditional.
See here, when I eat popcorn, I prefer Jiffy Pop.
I'm back.
That was quick. That was good.
Yeah, I ran. It was good.
Whoa, he's getting over COVID. Be careful.
Yeah.
It'll work those lungs.
Hold on, I gotta get the oxygen.
Yeah.
I shouldn't laugh like that. But anyway. So it was great. So there's like, I don't want to say catacombs underneath the museum, but there's like we found a door, the big thick doors that you could open up, that there was stuff stored all down in these tunnels that from the early 1920s that go over to like the Coliseum and probably USC. Some are all closed off, but it was something out of a horror movie. And then there was also another building further away that had a big warehouse. Because when I said Indiana Jones collection and all that, it made me think of and then there was the place that had all the dinosaur bones that nobody was seeing because only like 5% of the collection was in. But yeah, wonderful place to work. Yeah, I had a wonderful studio there for a time.
So that's not the place to go and drop acid, from what I'm hearing.
No, probably not.
You don't walk out of there alive. Got it. Okay. After that.
Yeah, that I went there one time to see. What they did was they had an exhibit where they took, say it was like this is gonna sound crazy, but they took like a horse and they literally sliced it, and so you could actually see what it looks like.
That humans, like that humans
livers, right?
Yeah. It was, or like they took like lungs and then they sliced it. Like one was a smoker and one was a non-smoker, and you can actually see the lungs and stuff like that. They have really amazing exhibits there, and that was the one I remember. And it was like this was in it was 2000 and I want to say like 5 or so. So then I walked out. I walked and saw that exhibit, and then walked out and then saw the Boston Red Sox play the Los Angeles Dodgers in an exhibition game at LA Coliseum. It was like 85,000 people there, and it was amazing. It was
More importantly, who won the game?
Boston did at the time. Although Tim Wakefield did not pitch. Yeah, Tim Wakefield did not pitch very well, but that was actually a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar threw out the first pitch. He did a sky hook instead of like throwing the ball. That was pretty awesome. So yeah, that's my what was is it the museum? What do they call that? The Museum of is it Natural History?
The Museum of Natural History of LA County. It's
it's fascinating if you ever go to it. Really great stuff.
They've really upgraded it. Like I was there right at the beginning of when it was called the New Museum Project. And so after I had finished the exhibits that I was working on, then that's what our team was on. And then they brought on a couple designers to do like the first wave of what they thought that they were going to do. And then now, I mean, it's so different.
Yeah. It's really super cool. Worth going to if you're ever in the LA area. Wow, so much. We have so much to talk about. Just looking at all your work. Tell me about this. Did you make and paint this?
What's that?
Did you make and paint this?
Yeah, I did that for eHow. So they hired me to come and this was like the first kind of Facebook Live kind of streaming event. So like they did it in real time for like 5 or 6. No, it was about 5 hours, and then they also time lapsed it.
Oh, wow!
And then I just brought a bunch of stuff, and I had a giant grapefruit, and I had picked out the pumpkin, and so they didn't really know what I was going to make. But this is the funny thing. So it's very fascinating. Like I think media, the internet and media and the creation of things and what people are interested in and how it's kind of like fishing in a way, because you don't know really what's going to bite.
What's going to stick.
And so eHow, they did an edit of this, and it was getting a lot of views. I mean, it was like, I think, not 100,000, but maybe tens of thousands of views. And then somebody took it and they re-edited it, and they just chopped a little bit off the beginning, and then they put some like funky music to like some, I don't know, rap or something. And that video exploded in the millions. Like it was like 20 million. And then someone pirated that, and their channel then got 20 million. So like I had seen like numbers of like 60 million. And then this thing came back around like at Easter time. It was still traveling, and it ends up in my feed. And but it was funny because like when this all was happening, I was like contacting eHow and saying, hey, I just saw another one, I don't know what to do, and they're contacting me and say, hey, take that down, you can't show that. And I mean, and so my phone distracted me. I was telling them, whenever I would see something, and then they'd have it pulled down. But yeah, that was another great experience to do that one. It was just a weird sculpt and fun to paint, and try and get it done in the amount of time that that you have, right?
Yeah.
I just can't believe like the view. I don't know. You seriously cracked the code on getting tons of views. I know the algorithm's all goofy now, but it just I love hearing that anything pumpkin related in this little fun pumpkin culture gets all that attention. And I'd rather have it be your name front and center versus some pirated version. But it's just cool as hell when cool carved pumpkins get out in the world. I mean,
so I can actually shed some light on this. So eHow, what they used to do, I did some eHow videos, and they're awful. And but one of the things they did was, and this is how I found out about this, is eHow would look up searchable terms. So like terms that people were searching for to learn different things. And then they'd commission people to do those things and talk and do videos about them. And so did they do that with you? How did they commission this basically?
So they hired me, and then I came to their studio, and then they were having like a Halloween day, but it was kind of like they did the beer toast, and they were kind of talking about a little bit of stuff while I'd be carving in the background, but then they also were shooting the experience live.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how they built up kind of like before. And this was before anything went viral or anything like that. And so like the fact that people took it and then made it that's how like viral videos kind of happen, is people were taking them and making them more. We work with she was a food blogger, and like on Facebook, this one picture, it was just a still picture, got like 1 million hits. And it was just like these kind of like these gingerbread men and every Christmas it would get like 1 million hits. It was just the most random thing. So but the video thing was, you saw early how video really exploded, and
it was
crazy.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And I mean, even in the beginning, like there were a lot of different companies that then would take the videos and just run and do whatever.
Yeah.
And then I started to try and research and learn, from an artist side. It's like, well, I'm not seeing any revenue from this, and I know that you guys are selling and making people are making a lot of money off of this. And then I had talked to a lawyer, and then also researched a bit on the ethical price guidelines of like the Graphic Artists Guild. I'm like, okay, I've got to lean on some other art, to see like, okay, how many skills are being involved in the creation of this? Because like if there, like there's the Snickers, the Snickers thing that I did.
Yeah, that was great.
And that, and then there was also a still photographer that was hired that I believe got paid about as much as I did for sculpting. And that was like, oh man. So then you're looking at if there's other things that are happening, other than you just creating an asset. You're creating an asset, right? Yeah. You can do whatever. You can mold that, mass produce it, make it into earrings, make it outdoor product, or you could make a music video or do anything with it. And so you've got to figure out, okay, there's value here, and the people that are wanting it, they know this, and they're hoping that you don't know this, and that you'll do it. That you'll do it for next to nothing without, So you just gotta learn about all that stuff, and
right.
and then hope it all works out, right?
60% of the time, it works every time.
Yes.
Well, so what you're saying though is they could basically take you, commission you, and have you sign away the rights to the property
To your work, right?
Right.
because they gave you a fee for it, and then you just no longer own any part of that. Now it's their.
Yeah, and to some degree that that can very well happen. Now, I don't know what happens when, like, look, if they're sharing and stuff, and people are posting it on their websites, then what does that mean for you? That you can't post, that you can't, I mean, or you can share it, but you can't say anything about it, or whatever.
Right. That's goofy.
But it is goofy. I mean, I firmly believe that if you're a creator and you're creating this stuff, throw the name on there of the artist. You're not
100%.
You're not a wrist. You're the dude that's making that, and you should get credit for it. It's just, I mean, it's just like the old, I'm not going to say names, but the old animated movies, there's a lot of artists that didn't get any credit.
Right. Right.
It's like, this is social media now. You throw a name up there. That's just,
Right.
It's exactly what happens to me because some people do. Well, I'd say most people now know that you should credit, and that's what asking for permission comes from. Because I'll get somebody will randomly ask if they can share a picture of something I sculpted, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. I appreciate you liking my work. Just make sure you give the artist credit.
right.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything, but it could if you
right.
sue you.
And
You put it on a t-shirt.
right?
Yeah.
It's just
But I'll tell you what it is. It's one of the I learned this when I first moved to LA, is that creative directors, owners of shops, they were so afraid that someone was going to steal you, that if they said, like, they wanted to keep you like a mushroom,
Yes.
in a dark room. I don't want them knowing. I don't want them reaching out to you because they're going to lure you away from me. And it's like that you can't do anything.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's the only thing that I think that they're super afraid of, is like, oh, we paid for this, but then you went and we can't get more from you, and we can't do this, and we promoted you and all this stuff. So that's the only thing that I think that is in play here. John, would you have anything to say about that?
Yeah. I believe that. Yeah, I think there's certainly that. I think also, there's companies out there too that try and they're operating on some other level of thinking, like, just because it's a pumpkin, what if I was sculpting that in clay, or wood, and I get the same result? I mean, does it, because it's wood, make it more valuable if you're going to photograph it and use it in a show? No, it's it's your ability, and especially if you refine your skill and you're doing this, then the artist they need to be compensated, and they need to be known. Your name needs to be out there. And it's kind of like what I mentioned in the Snickers thing that I managed to slide in there, is that this is a new art form, and it needs to be recognized. And I mean, I think it's pretty clear that everyone is sculpting and posting, and it's one day there'll be books on this. One day, right? Just like the underground comic artists now have books, and Marvel Comics is taken seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously, you're right. Well, I think it's come along. I think in the last couple of years too, there's a lot of that misconception. Is definitely, people are a lot more wary of posting other people's things now.
Yes.
Just because artists have rights now online.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've gone as far as just to copyright one pumpkin that I did with a little slogan, because so many people around here stole it and took my watermark right off of it.
Yeah.
That pissed me off. And they were sharing it as their own. And companies were like, would this be a great t-shirt? This and that. And so I copyrighted it. I'm like, please put it on a t-shirt. Please make 1 million of them, because I'm going to get all that money.
And that's the question, like the signatures or watermarks? You put them on or
gotta
leave them off?
Put them on.
Yeah.
Put them on somewhere. So if somebody does crop it out, at least you have that ground to stand on and say, look, they blatantly knew it was mine and use it as their own. Like that's malice, right? It's premeditated. If I just take this mark off, I can put this on my website and you see it all the time with other people's work where some of those fake companies on Instagram and stuff will market other people's sculptures that they have no intention of sending you, but they'll take your money. But people see good work and they're like, wow, look how cheap that is, which we all know good work is not cheap.
No, that's right.
It's a rough world. We're just living in it and sculpting pumpkins.
That's right.
That's all we're doing. I gotta figure out how I'm gonna make this a wolf at some point.
Oh yeah. So and John, we told you before, this is the fastest 90 minutes on the internet. We're actually almost up to 90 minutes.
Wait,
so let's go around the horn and see what Paul, Paul, you were saying that, you made a lot of progress there.
Want to make them, but we were talking about cartoon and, I want to make it cartoony so that this pumpkin does not lend itself to scary in any way, shape or form. It's round. So I'm going to go with like the round muzzle. I'm going to do the hair thing again with the lino tool.
That. He's good.
So that's probably going to take the longest of it. So I try to leave, not scrape so clean around here. Because when you do that with the lino tool, it almost gives it like a brindle. Like cats have a calico, like different colors all kind of blended in there.
Oh, sure.
But I'll give him I want to give him that classic underbite. I'm going to see how deep I can get in there, but I want to keep it cartoony. Smug. That's a tough one, but we'll see. That's going to be all in the kind of like the like he farted in church and blamed the person next to him smug.
Yeah, that's smug.
That's smug. Love me.
Matt, what do you got?
All right, so I'm thinking like a baby wolf, and I'm gonna do ears like here and here, but I mean right now it's kind of, I don't know if you can kind of see it very well, but so
that's good.
The nice part is having this kind of extension makes it very wolfish, and then I can do hair. I'm just gonna I'm trying to figure out what a smug look on a wolf would be, but I'm kind of trying to work with the folds of his mouth and then get his eyes, and then I'll do some ears and some hair, but he's coming along.
I think a wolf is smug, right? I think a wolf is smug. He's an apex predator. He just looks at you and like I'm better than you.
What are you gonna do? You gonna run? Good luck.
Right.
So,
wow, that looks great.
Yeah.
Nice use
on the way
of the cherry.
I'm literally considering hacking the nose and putting another one on. That's, I don't know. That might be a last minute decision, but this stem is kind of cool. But I also think a really cool wolf nose that's it would set it off even more. But we'll see.
I like it, man. I think you couldn't have done any better with that shape for what the subject was.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it. I'm really glad I had a pointy little guy so to get a muzzle.
He's pointy.
You guys ever remember a few years back, Sue Beatrice sculpted that wolf? Remember that?
Yeah. Oh my God, the one at the Brooklyn Zoo one.
I just remember. I think like that was the first time I'd seen like different materials. Like I think it was a butternut or a sweet potato. Maybe she used for a tongue and a nose, and it was just a head. I just was so blown away by it. But,
yeah, she's on the level. Her and Andy, they're just on the level. You see the cardboard ones they do now too?
No,
it's unbelievable. They have like a male and a female lion. It's like they're touching heads in love, and it's made of cardboard, and it's like a masterpiece.
Oh, that sounds great.
It does. It makes me want to quit art altogether.
Yeah.
Damn talent. So much talent. No, they're amazing. Love them.
Your art is good when you get talented artists out of the business.
Yes. Yeah. When you get people to quit, you're really good.
Yeah.
Well, John, I feel like we've just scratched the surface with you. And I saw this picture. I definitely had to put it up there. I know, and I understand it was probably like 300 and something weeks ago. So it's like I'm sure she's so much bigger now. Your daughter here.
Yeah, she's about 12 now. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like yesterday.
So that was a class. Like I taught for her. I think it was her kindergarten class.
Oh, I love those. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, wonderful. You know, just all the kids in there, like, oh,
yeah.
It's the best. I did that once for my son's 3rd grade art class, and same thing. Say, excuse me, how do you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah.
Magic. Those ears are dynamite.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did that for a demo. Those ears alone would have taken me like an hour and a half.
You know, I had to have like made the ears and brought them or something. I can't really remember. I just remember, you know, just have fun with it and let the kids, you know, give the kids like 30 minutes of exposure, and that's about all they'll be able to handle.
Yeah.
That's it though. That's probably the only 30 minutes they remember to that day.
Right. That's it.
So I guarantee you, every Halloween that comes rolling around, remember when that guy came in and he made that goblin? It's the best. I love doing that for my kids too.
Well, do you guys do anything for kids? Like, there's a school in New York that the past few years that it's a, you know, a freebie. Like, I'll do a couple of free ones out there just to, you know, get kids exposed. And it's like I think a bilingual school, and but it's kind of fun. Well, it's not kind of fun. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'll do the stuff if the kid's art teacher wants me to come in and stuff. I love doing that. And then you'll bring 1 or 2, like, and they're like, "Can I touch it?" And I'm like, "You can do whatever you want to it. I'm not taking it home." Feel away. It's slimy. You're gonna love it.
My favorite, and I've done the same thing like Paul's done, like gone into the kids, and I've got even one coming up for my high school sophomore, and can't wait for that. But my fun thing too is I've carved it like a desert museum, and had a giant sculpture, and it's when the kids will be walking with their parents, kind of like, and then they'll see the sculpture, and they'll see me working on it, and then their parents will like, "We gotta go, and they just sit in a chair, and they're like, yeah, and they want to touch a tool. I'm like, "Here, you scrape it on the side," and they're like, "Parents, is that okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know, it's just pumpkin," and I love that part, just having them be so engaged and so like wide-eyed and stuff, and you know, it makes the whole thing worth it. Just having little kids be like,
it's got to feel like a superpower.
Those things are, those experiences are life-changing moments.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You're exposing them to art. I mean, there's not enough of that going around anymore.
No,
there's not enough just art.
Well, John, we definitely would love to have you back. Actually, I thought I had your slide in here. Where can we find your work?
Well, you can find me at jonneill.com without the H.
With 2 L's.
Yes, with 2 L's.
Yeah.
The E before the I. And you can also find me on Instagram. That's my Instagram.
There you go.
Yeah, which is always good. I promise.
We didn't even get to touch on that one.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like your body of work is like, it's, oh my God, so vast. I mean, like I said, we could do 3 or 4 shows with you and not talk about anything repetitively.
Well, it's funny. Like, one of my neighbors, they work with him, and like I was like, oh yeah, show him this. He'll know. You know, he's seen it. I mean, he's seen it a million different ways. Yeah. But you know, it's funny. And that's what I love about being out here, is that
you're close to it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
but,
it's a truth.
Well, if you ever run into Charlize Theron, tell her I said hello.
Okay, yeah, I'll let her know.
For me and my wife. Just
okay, we'll do. Hey, Charlize, come here.
Yeah, that's who was at the door.
Yeah, she needed to get back in.
Yeah.
And so got out. You let her out.
Yeah. Tell Jimmy hi for us too. We're huge fans, and
actually watch. Who knows?
John was so gracious when we were out there for Monsterpalooza, offered to give us a fun little tour, and we were so slammed with getting set up, we never even took you up on it. But we'll be back out there. And do it.
Yeah,
we'll come back out and do it again.
We'll definitely make it happen. we'll definitely block out some time. This is where you can find us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. Guys, any last words before we shut down for this Thursday and go into our 100th episode, if you can believe that?
Unbelievable. Well, thank you, John, for finally joining us. Such a huge fan.
I really appreciate you guys letting me on the show, and I had a lot of fun. Went by quickly.
Sure.
It always does.
Yeah.
It always does. So everybody watching, make sure you follow him and block out some time, because it's going to take a while to just even crack back the first layer of his work. It's amazing. So,
Yeah.
That's kind of you to say.
Well, thank you again. We'll see you next Thursday, episode 100 of Carvers and Creators. We did it. But yeah. And thank you so much, John. We'll see you next Thursday. Goodbye, everyone.
You guys,
Take care.
thank you.
Bye-bye.